Hello and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's nearly 6 years since AFME was formed, and a lot has changed for our industry in that time, but perhaps you could reflect back. You've been here 5 years. I mean, what did you find when you arrived?
Well, AFME was created 6 years ago, so it was the formation of LIBA, the London Investment Banking Association, and the European arm of SIFMA, and one or two other trade bodies that we have been working closely with. So what I found was a brand new organisation, which actually was very exciting and continues to be very exciting, because I think over the last 6 years we've created something quite special. We have a very distinctive positioning in the trade association space as AFME, representing the wholesale financial markets practitioners. The E in AFME is very much for Europe. We have a great team here of specialists, and we have a great team here of people who can advocate positions on behalf of our members. So I think the last 6 years have flown past, but actually during that time we have put ourselves, I think, in a position on behalf of our members to be a very powerful voice on behalf of Europe's wholesale financial markets.
And what changes would you note in the industry that we serve over that time?
Well, obviously 6 years ago the industry was still coming to terms with what had happened in the epicenter of the financial crisis 2007, 2008, and much of the legislation and regulation that we're now seeing coming to fruition at level 2 was really only just beginning. So we were in the early days of the legislation, the big ticket items, CRD4, MiFID II, and I think people were beginning to sort of understand this was going to be a major undertaking. So the industry was bracing itself for those major changes, coming to terms with the governance changes, the changes in risk management that were required post-crisis. So I think here we are 6 years on, and the industry feels as though it's been through some pretty significant changes, but I think there's still more change to come.
How do you think that regulators and legislators look on our industry today?
Well, 5 or 6 years ago, I think there was a lack of trust, and I think it was quite difficult for AFME and other people representing the industry to get a hearing with key regulators and interlocutors. The key phrase we always use is constructive engagement. I think during that time we've been able to constructively engage with regulators and officials. I remember a key moment in Brussels 3 years ago when we had our first event around the growth agenda, and Commissioner Barnier, Michel Barnier, came to that event and he said, "The reason I'm here is because AFME constructively engages with me and my officials." And I thought that was a really interesting moment, because he was basically acknowledging that as an industry, and we're a very important part of that, we were prepared to constructively engage rather than simply to say, this is our position. So that to me has been really one of the most significant developments that we've seen over the last few years.
And could you identify 2 or 3 high points of our work over that time?
I think the 2 big dossiers, I think CRD4 and MiFID II have been blockbusters, and I think we have made, I like to think, a really big contribution to getting those to a position where they are implementable. I think from an AFME point of view, opening an office in Brussels was a major step. We were London-based only when we were established, but we now have a team in Brussels of 8 people doing work in Brussels, part of the Brussels network, and I always believed that was a really important part of the AFME mission, to have an operation in Brussels as well. And thirdly, I think we've been very lucky. We've had a very, very engaged board, and if you think of our 3 chairmen so far, Gail de Boissard of Credit Suisse, Frédéric Jambon of BNPP, and now Michael Cole-Fontaine of BNY Mellon, they're all leaders in the industry, and their contribution as chairs of AFME, I think, have been very significant developments for us.
Many thanks indeed, Simon.